Catherine, the Princess of Wales, has lightened her hair, and people have absolutely lost their minds over this change. And there's really so much to talk about here. Some really, really big ugliness from the internet, but also some, I think, legit questions of, is this a good look that works for Catherine or not? Or did she just really have a bad hair day? We are going to get into all this, but if you guys haven't been to Royal Fashion News before, hello, my name is Brittany, and this channel is all for all those who have a passion for royal fashion. And like I said, we're going to talk about Kate lightening her hair. Yes, oh yes. It has sparked immense debates and crazy speculation. And I do want to dissuade some of that speculation right off the bat here because I think it is dangerous and unnecessary discussion to have. The first is that it's a wig. It's not a wig. We know this because her hair essentially looked the same when it was dark as well. So I don't feel like we're seeing like a huge change in terms of her hair texture or color or length or anything like that. It is an obvious change, yes, but not the one, let's say, people are overly speculating on. It's also not to cover grays, as some people have said, because you can actually see her brunette hair growing back in at the roots. This is also why we know it's not a wig. Wigs don't generally have like roots like right here. Right now, you can see my roots, and you really need to go to the hair salon. You can see the ashy blondness coming in. And so Catherine is having the same thing with her natural brunette locks. So this idea that she's covering a whole bunch of gray, just a little silly. And as other people have pointed out, when you have darker hair, it's a little bit easier to hide the grays because you just go in and touch up the color at the roots and you're good. Blonde, it's a little bit more challenging in some ways, and I would somewhat agree with that. So that's something to keep in mind as well. There's also been, I think, some wildly unnecessary speculation regarding this connection to chemotherapy. We do know she kept her hair through chemotherapy. Her hair wasn't affected by whatever drug she was particularly taking. And so, in that effect, she didn't have to worry about that. There's also cold capping people can do now. She has said she didn't do that, but that's just something to keep in mind as well. And we haven't really seen, I would argue personally, huge changes in her hair in terms of it got a lot thinner, it got a lot thicker, or like the texture changed that much. To me, it didn't seem like it changed all that much. But did Catherine decide to lighten it? Yeah. Yeah, she did. And I do have to say, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think this was the best first outing of the hair. I think the hair could work, but what I noticed and what I think drove a lot of speculation is that it kind of had this poof in the back. I'm not doing it well, but kind of like this. Had a little bit of a poof. And it just read very different for her. And I think this is a situation where her hairdresser maybe was experimenting. Maybe they were going to go with a different hairstyle at first or something like that, and it didn't work. And the back of her hair got overly teased, and it wasn't flattering. I have to say it wasn't. Because let's be honest here, ladies and gentlemen, because I've seen a lot of people just endlessly praise the new look. But, you know, if I'm being honest, guys, I'm not sure I totally love it. And so, because of that, in addition, she had it not behind her ears and just kind of like this in her face. And it just wasn't, again, I don't think personally her best look. It Because the hair is so long as well and the curls are kind of all down here, I felt like it dragged her down quite a bit. And so I think if she had, in addition to having the lighter hair, had cut it, let's say 6 inches, I think it would have added a freshness to it that she sort of needed for the particular situation. So, yes, it just wasn't the best hair. It just wasn't. And when it comes to the poof that she had at the back, I think the over teasing, once the rain kicked in, you actually didn't see it quite as much. And she looked a lot more like she normally does. And so it just was a situation where I think styling here really, really mattered. And unfortunately, I just don't think she hit the exact right note. Now, is that necessarily bad? No, guys. No, guys, it's not. Everybody has a bad hair day. In fact, like when Kiss FM used to be really, really big way back in the early, knots or whatever, there was a funny segment where they had Tyra Banks on. And obviously Tyra Banks's reputation has taken a little bit of a tumble, but I really liked what she said here. She's like, "My toots do not smell like roses." Think about that. My toots do not smell like roses. And I remember thinking that going, yeah, like everybody else, she has things, she has bad days, bad things don't work out quite well. Like she's not perfect. She has this veneer because of, at the time Victoria's Secret and everything. But I Tyra Banks and hopefully, most others would be the first to say, "Oh, things, we might look perfect, but things aren't perfect behind the scenes." And I think this is just a situation where it just wasn't the best styling. And so I will be curious if we see a different styling next time, one that I think will flatter Catherine a little bit better because I just don't think this one did. And I feel like that's totally appropriate to say. But Diana's former hairdresser did have some really, really strong words here. So let's listen to what he said. So this is from Sam McKnight, who is a former hairstylist to Princess Diana. He said, "I am shocked, horrified, dismayed, and disgusted by all the nasty comments about the Princess of Wales today. A woman's hair is very personal to her, its armor, defense, confidence, and so much more. I cannot believe how evil and lacking in any kind of empathy are the comments the majority made, apparently by other women, attacking a vulnerable other young woman who has no choice by dint of who she married and the role she took on to bravely face the public." He went on to say, "I'm sure she would rather be away from the public arena. She has brilliantly and quietly, unselfishly represented our country, the soft power we still have as a nation. Cancer affects individuals differently, but is life changing for everyone. So, FFS, leave her alone. Shame on you." Now, I feel like some of that is a little excessive because let's be honest, most of the people who watch my channel are women and we talk about other women's hair. I know there are people who will probably criticize my hair. I should go back to the salon earlier. I should have. And so people will complain, they'll make comments, those sorts of things. And it's not, I don't think, necessarily bad to go, you know what, that just didn't quite work. I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with that. But what I will call out is the nastiness. The stuff I know most likely comes from the Harry and Meghan camp, or those who are their most avid supporters who are, connecting this to chemo, saying she's wearing a wig, which doesn't make sense. It's because she completed chemo a year ago. So she wouldn't be needing a wig at this point if she ever needed one. And her hair has remained remarkably consistent, you could say. And we've seen it without, sort of again, the poofing in the back, which I think was just a result of some unnecessary teasing. So, yeah, we discuss it. And that's not necessarily bad. But again, the ugliness some people have put into this, I think is truly shameful and something that, should not be discussed because that's not really the point here. And like any woman, she decided to make a change. And I'm sure she's sitting there at home thinking, this was sort of a dumb idea, wasn't it, William? And William's like, I'm not saying anything at all. I love you no matter what you look like," which I'm sure is very, very true. But she just wanted to try something different. And, when you do something like that, you can have people who love it and you can have people who don't like it. And that's just sort of going to be life. I think the other thing somebody mentioned, which I thought was really, really good, is that because of the lighter color, she maybe needs to change up a bit of her makeup routine or something like that so that things blend together a little bit more. Because she's never really had this color of hair before. She's never gone this light. And when you do go into a different, let's say, vein of a particular color, you have to adjust to maybe get the right mixture in place. So for me, I tend to stick to a very ashy blonde tone. I don't like golden blonde because I feel like it just is not that flattering on me. I have a lot more of a cooler tone. And so I prefer to have something ashier that goes along with more my natural hair, which is a very ashy blonde. And so if you do that, I feel like it's somewhat better to understand what your coloring is. And maybe we're in the process, maybe we're mid in the process of getting the hair to where maybe Catherine wants it to be or something like that. But at this point, I just don't think from what we've seen so far now with a different, again, setup, we might get a different response, a different styling. I think we might see it in a better light. But I feel like for this particular outing, it just wasn't the best debut. And that's not to say that Catherine hasn't had other times where she wore her hair a particular way, and I would argue it wasn't particularly flattering. But there's only really one time that comes to mind, and it was this time way back in 2013. And I just thought that the hair, she seemed to be struggling that day. It just wasn't her best day hair wise, and that's okay. It's just a great reminder of the fact that, like all of us, Catherine is human, and to err is human, and to have hair is often very much a human trait. Now, there's exceptions to that, but she has hair like we all do, and she decided to do something fun. And I don't think people should criticize her for letting her hair down a little bit and having a bit of summer fun. Although it might be something where she did it and then she's comes home and like, why did I do that to myself? And then people don't react the way she hopes to, and she's like, "I don't know." But it might be something too, again, it was like a gray day, so it may have washed it out a little bit. Again, it's all about trying to find the right balance, but with the death of the Duchess of Kent, we may not see Catherine for a little bit as the royal family goes through a period of mourning. But I hope people can calm down with the debate. It was a poor styling choice, I think, for the hair. And while the hair color is new and something to get used to, I think we probably will. And I think it'll shine with the right styling. And I'm sure we will get there at some point. But of course, the debate will rage online. But I just hope people can be productive in their conversations and not just going to the nasty realms, because unfortunately that seems to happen a little too much. So guys, let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall speak to you again very soon. Bye.